here's what we're making today. And this guy. Kia ora e te whānau. So we're going to start this one off really simple. Remember we made this one, and there were 2 pockets that we made here that I made the templates for. So what I've done is I have picked some of my favourite images, and they are off Internet Archive. So they are all in the public domain, so I'm really happy about that. And these 3 I have, with a little tiny bit of trimming, have made to fit the top one, and these 2 I have made to fit the bottom one. So you can choose which ones you want to put in there. I have printed mine on that awesome origami washi paper. I just love how it prints, and it's not cheap, but I absolutely adore it. So the first one that is going to go in here is super simple, so I think I'm going to do that one. This is the mat board, so it's just exactly what photo galleries, they cut in there and they put it in a photo frame. And these are the offcuts that they give me for free. And I'm honestly just going to cut that out, stick it, glue it on, cut it off there, round the corners and chuck a tab on it. So I won't film that, I'll just show you when it's done. Okay, so I've changed my mind again. I thought this little guy might actually look cuter in here. We need some things to fill up those pockets anyway. So I thought I'll pop him in there. I can make something else for there. I've got plenty more on that sheet, and that sheet will be in this week's folder as well. But I did think this tag that we made the other day, maybe that can just, yeah, I like that. There we go. So, right, now I need to make something for that pocket. So again, I think I will just use one of these images. I might use this one, but I'm only going to put it on a thinner cardstock, and that can just fit in there as a journaling card. But same thing, again, you don't need me to show you how to do that. Just glue that to the card. I like the rounded corners, you don't have to, and I'm just going to, my tabs are just either that or the whale tail one. So I'll pop back in a second. Okay, here we go. I just cut around it, like I said, stuck it to some card, popped some of that brown paper from the last video in there, and I've just put an eyelet through the tab as well, and that can just slide in there. And I know it doesn't reach the divot, but I think the divot's more to help you put the tag into the slot than it is necessarily to have the tab right where that is. So there you go, and we can hang something off there later. That'll look quite cute. Right, okay, this one I've tried to do as much prep as possible because it's a lot of tag cutting, and let's just not do that on camera. So I just cut them to fit that perfectly, which is 2 3/4 inches for me. And then obviously I've just cut the tag tops. You're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Might use 5, but 6 to be safe, of 240 GSM, so quite a heavy card because we need that to give us a bit of thickness. The top one I have covered in that writing paper, so I'll pop that in the folder for you guys. And the back one, just cover it with any note paper, lined note paper that you've got, so that if someone wanted to, they could write on the back of this guy. Then I've got this thinner one, which I cut 2 of, but you don't need, you should only need 1. And then some sort of shape. Now it doesn't have to be that shape. You could do circles, you could do 2 of those, you could do 3 separate ones, completely up to you. I at this point do not even know if this is going to work because it's kind of like a shaker tag, but yeah, you'll see what I mean. So these just stamped onto some paper and fussy cut around them, and they don't have to be butterflies, they could be little flowers, they could be any stamps you have, they could be little butterflies that you've cut out of a book or printed off, that's absolutely fine. And then I've just made 3 little number labels like that. And what we need to do is we need to center this guy up, and like the last video that we did, I'm going to masking tape that on there. So don't ask me why I inked this one, because this one might end up being thrown away. I did ink all of the edges because I find once you've glued it together, well, with my glue, if the glue gets on the edges, it won't ink. I don't know if you've had that problem, but I have. So I'm just going to line this up on here and masking tape it, and I'll be right back. So I've just done that by eye. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, because what we're going to do is we're going to put these one at a time lined up, and then we know we're going to get those cut exactly where they need to on every single one. So because this is thicker card and this is slightly thinner, I usually go through 4 times. So I'm just going to, all I'm doing is running those through my die cut machine 4 times. I'll show you the first one just in case you didn't watch the last video. So then we're going to gently take that off there. This guy, and because it's thick card, you might just have to snip slightly with some scissors if any little parts didn't quite detach. And I am going to ink all of those inserts, but then we keep this guy like this and we put the other one underneath. So hopefully when I come back, all of these will be very close to or aligned. So I'm just going to do that and I'll be back. Okay, I just forgot to mention, this is going to be our cover plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut one more, take the center out exactly the same way as I was doing it. I'll pop this into the folder as well. It's just a master board that I made, and I'm just going to chop exactly the same so that we've got a cool cover plate. And this one is the back one. I've only chopped that out because I want to be able to ink around there rather than it looking too new. You don't have to do that. So if you're going to use this one as your back one, you could just leave it as is if you don't want that extra step. Okay, so I'll cut one more of these out of this and I'll be back. Okie dokie. So now we just need to do some gluing for a starter. So I'm just going to glue. There's our back with the note paper. I'm going to start by gluing that onto there. Okay, so we're not actually going to see that part around there. So I'm just going to save 2, and I'm going to go and glue all of these on top of each other, like that. And I'll be back. Okay, there we go. So we've got a bit of a lip there. Hopefully it's going to be enough. If it's not, you could just cut another tag. I know this is very time consuming and uses a lot of cardboard, but hopefully it should look quite cool in the end. So now we need to do this bit, and I'm going to put 2 pieces of acetate in between here, which only the butterflies and bees are going to be in. So I'm just going to pop that under something heavy just so that all of those layers adhere nicely together. Okay, now I need to grab some, might use wider than that if I can. No, that's going to be too wide. So I need to tape all around there and all around there for now. And I'm not going to show you me doing that. I will just come back once it's taped. But we do want it as close to this very edge as we possibly can. Okay, so I have peeled all the double-sided little bits off, and now we just need to carefully put the acetate on each one. Okay, so there's just little bits that I need to fix up, so I'll just quickly trim those and I'll come back. Okay, so now we need to sandwich these guys in here. And I need to do them like that because these are going to be sitting underneath. So there needs to be that one closer to the top and this guy pretty central, or slightly above, and then enough room for the third label. So I'm just going, we're not going to see the underside of these butterflies, so I'm just going to bob a little bit of glue and glue them into there. Okay, now this guy can be glued onto there. Actually, because we have acetate, I think I will double side tape that onto there as well as a little bit of glue. Now that just about took a year off my life, and what I have realised is that I actually used the wrong side of that bookmark, tag. But that's okay. It just means that I can see a tiny little bit of a white border there. Okay, so next thing we've got to do is stick those labels down. Quite a bit. So the next one. Okay, so when that's on there, it's just going to look like these little butterflies. They're going to create shadow and they're going to be floating above. I just thought that was quite a cool look. Seems like a lot of work, I know. That in there is bugging me like you wouldn't believe, but that's alright. Okay, so next we need to see if we can find something thin enough to go into here that will roll around still. So I'll see what I can find. Okay, so I have fished out some of my buttons. They have to be really flat. I mean, you could do a few more layers of that if you wanted to, and that would help raise it up a bit more. I found some teeny tiny little keys, so I'm going to pop those in there as well. And then I've just got some of these little, so we'll pop some, wee, yikes, runaways. Oh, they might actually be too raised. Yeah, they are. Goodness gracious. So either you'd need to do more layers of cardboard, or I'll have to take those out. How much do I want them in there? It's going to be quite a few layers of cardboard, and then it's going to be a really thick tag, so I might just take those out. I'm just going to re-punch these holes before I glue them back together, so I don't have to go through as many layers of cardboard. Do a little bit of trimming if you need to. Then we simply glue them together. I am though going to use double-sided tape again, just because the glue doesn't stick and it's not like I can sew around this. So I'll be back in a second once I've stuck that down with the double-sided tape. Okay, so as we've used before, I'm going to put one of these on, and that is simply because this hole is probably too wide for an eyelet anyway, but this is because of how I want to put the ribbon on. So we'll just pop that on there, and I will pinch it with pliers later, because you don't need to see me doing that. So there we go. I hope you like that, something a little bit different. And we can, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a hidden paper clip on the back of here so that we can slide it onto a page. Because of how thick it is, we really don't want to be putting it in a pocket, I guess. Unless it was like a lace pocket or something, you might get away with that. But I want to make it a feature of the page. I don't actually want to hide any of it, so I just want it to be able to slide down onto a little belly band, but I'll show you how to do that when we actually make the page for it. So other than that, don't do what I do and do it backwards, because that's going to drive me nuts, even though if I hadn't pointed it out, probably hardly anyone would even notice. But yeah, I really enjoyed making that one, and I haven't done one like that before. So there we go. Till next time, love you guys heaps, and matiwa.